Because in major conferences in the world, which hold many nations or almost all the nations arrive and they talk for weeks and weeks, the word soil is not mentioned. This is the reason why SaveSoil movement is very important. I'm asking you, you've heard of climate change, you've heard about global warming, you have heard about fossil fuel burning, this, that. But have you heard people talking about soil with the same? It's not happened simply because if you knock on the oil industry, it'll spill dollars. If you knock on the automobile industry, it'll spill dollars. If you knock on coal industry, it'll spill dollars. If you try to knock the farmer, you will get hit. So nobody. So this is not about farmer has to make the change right now. It is not that we are expecting him to do it. It is important there is a policy where enshrining soil as an important living entity in our nations is most vital. Why the soil policies are most important is, see today, I just went to your Jaffa today morning. The old cities of every nation or every city has an old part, generally the more ancient cities have older parts. If you go to these parts, you will see homes are built in such a way where there is no concept of a window, wall to wall, wall to wall. Yes or no? In almost every city. But in the newer part of the city, you cannot build like that because there are urban laws. If you have 10,000 square feet of land, you can't build a 10,000 square feet of building. There is some law, maybe depending on each city, 6,000, 7,000 you can build, you can't build the whole space. If you build more, they will come and demolish it. But till now, in most nations or almost all nations in the world, if you have 100 acres of land, you can plow every inch of it. And in 10-15 years' time, turn it into a desert. Nobody will ask you, why have you done this? So we need laws to say that if you own agricultural land, minimum 3 to 6% organic content must be there, because that minimum is needed to keep the microorganisms alive. We are only thinking of soil as a resource. This is tragic. This is for me it is so unaesthetic. I'm saying, we have all fed upon our mother's breast. Do we call her a resource or is she the source of our life? Hello? So soil is the source of our life. It is not a resource for you to use and finish it off. And soil is not our property, it's a legacy that's come to us from generations. It's extremely important, we pass it on that way to future generations. Right now, that is in danger, and UNFAO is saying that the food that we eat today, I want you to be conscious of this, not to make you feel guilty, but it's very important we are conscious of it. The food that we eat today is not even the food that belongs to this little child. It is the food that belongs to the unborn child. An unborn child means the most defenseless life. Hello? An unborn child is the most defenseless life. Eating up the food of that unborn child, are we that kind of people? Hello? No. Are we that kind of people? But right now, that is a fact. We are eating up the food of the unborn child, and it can be fixed in the next 10-15 years' time. What should I do? What should I do? Roll up my sleeves? No, that's not the point. When you live in a democratic country, you have a vote, that's your business, I leave it to you, but you have a voice. Your voice is most important. I want 3 to 4 billion voices to speak about soil, not about me, not about this moment. Talk about soil for the next few days. Hello? Well, Israel claims it's very high-tech, all of you. Hey, you have a smartphone or a dumb phone? Smartphone. Oh, see, normally You call somebody smart only when they're smarter than you. Hello? Anyway, you have a smartphone for a companion. If you want to send a few silly messages to somebody, do that. I'm not against it, but you need to understand this instrument is a powerhouse. If you are committed, if you know what to do, if you are committed to create what you want in this world, you alone, I'm saying a single person, you can reach 3 to 4 billion people. It may take a little time. But this many of you, hello? If you make up your mind, spend just 15 to 20 minutes a day, the people who are in this hall can reach 3 to 4 billion people in the next 30 days. Possible or not? You shouldn't use your hands like this, you must… Yes.
#SaveSoil.
Do whatever, okay? Go do a jig on the street, do whatever you want to do. But I'm saying, this is our time. This is our time on the planet. What we want must happen, isn't it? Because our time on this planet is brief, very brief, unless you're very miserable. I'm saying this because, see, on a certain day you're very joyful, 24 hours, poof, went away like a moment, isn't it? Another day, a little like that, 24 hours feels like many, many years. So if you're joyful, your life will get over like that. Only miserable people can have a long life. Hello? This is the problem with joy, it gets over too soon. Misery lasts always. So, this is our time on the planet. You know this chant, what I did in the beginning, was it Hebrew? No, it didn't sound like that. You didn't understand. So let me tell you what it means. It simply means this, that our life is just a combination of time, a certain amount of time and a certain amount of energy. That's all it is. As we're sitting here, time is rolling away. Hello? This tick, tick, tick. You know those girls who are doing, huh? Time is rolling away. It is not the clock which is ticking, it's our life ticking away. Hello? Since you came and sat here, you're about an hour and a half closer to the grave. Yes, you are. If you do some yoga, you can push it a little bit, but you cannot avoid it. I have some secrets from my great-grandmother. So time is not in our control, it just rolls away for all of us. But how we manage our life energies is in our hands. If you raise your life energies to a certain level of intensity, what somebody does in 10 years, you can do in 1 year. So if both of you live for 100 years, in terms of impact, it feels like you lived for 1,000 years. This is something a human being can do. You can't roll back time. Did you ever… yesterday got wasted, so you rolled it back and lived it again? No such thing. I've been petitioning, 24 hours are never enough for me. I've been petitioning for at least 3 to 4 hours extra. Dumb silence, no response. I deserve 4 hours extra, hello? But no response. So time is ruthlessly democratic. No matter who the hell you are, it's rolling away, rolling away, rolling away. Yes or no? If you want to ride this time well, if you want to ride the cycle of time really well, it's extremely important that you take charge of your life energies and manage it the way you want. If you do that, you can definitely ensure the pleasantness of your experience, the profoundness of your experience and the impactfulness of your activity, because this is all you have in your life. If you sit here, you can have a pleasant experience to start with, then you can make it very profound experience to be here, and activity-wise, you can make yourself impactful. Activity is only meaningful if it's impactful, otherwise what's the point of activity? Hello? Whatever we may do. And life, we may think we are seeking many things. Well, you may seek education, you may seek love, you may seek marriage, you may seek children, you may seek wealth, fame, but essentially, you are seeking pleasantness of experience. Hello? Somebody will say it is not at all possible here, only in heaven it is possible. All the best. Because I have people like this around me also, and they come to me and say, you know, we are a volunteer organization, over 5,600 full-time volunteers, over 17 million part-time volunteers. Today I'm adding 3,400 more. And people are saying, oh, Sadhguru, he's so horrible, I can't work with him, she is impossible, I can't work with her. I say, see, in this world, there are only such people. This kind of horrible person, that kind of horrible person, that kind of horrible person, all horrible people. But if you know what you're doing is very significant, learn to work with these horrible people. But if you want to work with perfect people, you must go to heaven and today. Because right now, this is most important, we come together as humanity because this has been the miserable nature of our history. We are always looking, how is this guy different from me? He has no hair, so he is different. He is different race, he is different religion, he is different nationality, this, that, all kinds of things. Every possible way to make differentiations and discriminations. And now this was okay when we were fighting with sticks and stones. Somehow, one or two will die and we forget about them and live on. Unfortunate, but that's how it's been. But now we are so super empowered as human beings. If we still think the only way to solve issues is by confrontation, well, in another… see, already people… we had in 20th century, we had World War I, World War II, now people are talking about the third, number 3. Hello, shamelessly. Hello? Most shamelessly, because when World War I happened, people said, never again we'll fight a war. And within 30 years, they were at it again, on a scale and misery that I'd never seen before, that kind of stuff. I don't have to say anything to you people, you know what it means. But at that time we made up our minds, whatever League of Nations, then United Nations, we said, never again we will fight. We are mature enough to sit down and debate our problems, and that's idea, right? We did not believe that there will be no problems. There will be problems among human beings, there will be disputes, but we will be mature enough to sit down, talk it out and settle it, not shoot at each other. That was the idea of United Nations. But since 1944, how many damn wars have we fought in this world? Endless number, all right? Nobody knows the count. I'm sure nobody in this hall knows how many wars we have fought since 1944. Even if you're a student of history, you still don't know because that many have happened. And when the 2000 came, young people said, oh, we are millennials. I don't know what that means anyway. We are millennials, we are technology people, we are information technology, which is a knowledge generation. We're not going to do those wars. Since 2000, how many wars? There's not been a single year without a war somewhere, been going on and on. So, we need to understand this. It's extremely important as human beings. Instead of searching for differences, we need to find some common factors, some common denominators. If you do not understand what is the all-unifying cosmic consciousness, at least you understand this much. The soil that you walk upon is where you come from. The soil that you walk upon is what nourishes you every day. The soil that you walk upon is where you will go when you fall dead. Hello? Unless you're booked with that $1.7 million deal, you know this? Somebody started an enterprise. If you pay $1.7 million, when you die, whenever that is, they will take your body and leave it in the space. Because there is no oxygen or microbial activity there, your body will not deteriorate, it'll be the same way and it'll be floating around all over the space. You will not know because you're dead. But somebody may pick it up someday. I'm saying, if you have not done anything sensible in your life, at least when you die, bloody get back to the soil. That is the least we can do, hello? That is the least we can do, because this body is just a loan. This is just what we borrowed from this planet. And the topsoil is the cream of this planet. These 15 to 18 inches, these zillions of lives, these are manufacturing life all the time. And in many societies, they're calling this incredible magic. I call it magic because even if you sow death, it sprouts life. There is no other thing like this anywhere in the known universe. This magic people call as dirt. If that is dirt, all of us are just dirt bags. Hello? Yes or no? So what should I do, what should I do? This is what you should do. Those of you who are pointing your phones at me, I know you're good at it, you must start using it to enhance the message. Not about me, not even about the moment. Say something about soil. I don't know anything. Please, there are UNFAO websites, there are many other soil websites. There is enormous information, but that may be a little too technical and complicated for many people. There is SaveSoil.org, which is simple, put in a certain way that it is simple for people to grasp it. Read a few things, spend some time to know what life is made of, and ensure that you are part of turning this around. It's very, very important, because we want 3 to 4 billion people to speak. Why these 3 to 4 billion people? This is just this. See, most of the nations are ruled democratically in the world. What a democratic nation means is, what is in Israel, is it 4 years or 5 years? 1 year. The term I know that. That's a political commentary. What is the term? 4. So you elect a government for 4-year term. Suppose you were the Prime Minister of this country. Please, don't… see, it's become a pastime for everybody to always make fun of politicians, say they are bloody idiots, they're this, they're that, everywhere in the world, unfortunately. We need to understand this. If they are such bloody idiots, we gave our nation to their hands, what kind of idiots we must be? I'm asking. So, I want you to understand, if you were the Prime Minister of this nation or any nation, if we gave you a 4-year term, 4-year mandate to do something, would you naturally focus on doing something which bears results in 2, 3, 4 years' time? Or would you focus on something which will take 15 to 20 years to bear results? Please tell me honestly. Yes, you will try to do something in the term. Because first of all, a government was not elected to do something fantastic. A government was elected to fulfill people's mandate. What is the people's mandate? Just tell me in which nation. Give me an example of one nation in the world where 60% of the population have clearly expressed, we are concerned about long-term well-being of our nation, our soil, our ecology, the future of our children. No, you're asking for one silly tax benefit, you're getting it. You must be happy. This is what every population is asking and that's what you're getting. It's time 60% of the population stands up and says, we are concerned about the soil, we are concerned of the future of our nations and our children. You think a government can ignore it? Hello? Because democracy is a number game. Numbers are the only currency in a democracy. You people must give the mandate to the government. If you invest long-term, we're with you. If you ask for short-term things, they'll do short-term things, because after all, the term you're given is 4 years and you said 1 in Israel. It's extremely important. Citizens in a democratic nation understand your vote is not the only thing, your responsibility is not done. Your voice, a responsible voice is important. This is not in anger, this is not in resentment, this is not a fight, this is not an agitation, this is not a protest. This is an expression of our love and responsibility for the life that we are and the life that is around us and the life that should be on this planet beyond us. Generation Z, please change the alphabet. Scares me. At least X, Y, do something. Now, as dire as it looks, nature has a tremendous resilience. We can put this back. We can put this back in the next 8 to 12 or 15 years max if the necessary policies are made today. I must tell you, policy making is of a certain process. It has a certain cycle. It doesn't happen, oh, we said this, we tweeted, nothing happened. That's not the way to look at it. Let me tell you what's been happening with me and policy in India and things like that. We started this nearly 27, 28 years ago. I've been talking about soil for 30 years. Everybody says, Sadhguru, what you're doing is fantastic. It's really great, Sadhguru, and they go to sleep. Yes, this is the way of the world. This is why it's at the age of 65, 30,000 kilometers is not a joy ride, your ass will fall off, huh? Yes. So, what has to happen? What has to happen for us to wake up, I'm asking, as human beings? Because we need to understand, is sleep a crime? Hello? Is sleeping a crime? No. But if you sleep through your life, you'll end up in a disaster. It'll be worse than a crime. Crime will hurt a few people. Disaster does terrible things. If you sleep through your life, you will be a disaster, either as an individual or a whole humanity. If we sleep through problems, we will become a disaster or not. Right now, that is where we are. We can't sleep through this. We need to act. What should we do? Is it something so tremendous? Do we need new technologies? I want you to understand, there's only two ways, there are only two sources of organic content. Why organic content? Organic content essentially means we are serving breakfast, dinner for the microorganisms. Why are they important? Because 60% of your very body is microorganisms, only 40% is genetic material, do you know? They're all buzzing inside. Without them, you wouldn't exist. This little girl, when I was in Sofia, this little girl comes to me and says, Sadhguru, 8-year-old girl, how old are you? Little girl like that, okay. So she comes to me and says, Sadhguru, I want to do SaveSoil, I want to do this, that, but my mother won't let me. I said, you tell your mother she's only 20%. She has only 20% say in everything because her genetic material is only 20%. Your father, another 20%. 60% is microbial life. I want you to know, the soil that you walk upon is what you carry here. The very body is soil. The question is only, Will we get it now or will we get it when we are buried? That is the only question, you can decide. Anyway, you will get the point one day, either from me today or from the maggots, you will get the point. But if you get it today, we can do something significant. There will be no rewards for this, no awards for this, because if you mitigate a disaster, nobody will ever know that you mitigated a disaster. Only if a disaster happens and then you go and give your shoulder to the crying people, that you may get awards. But if you mitigate a disaster, people think nothing happened. But it's okay, hello? It's okay. As a generation, we turn this around. That is the most important thing. It is possible to do it now, a simple policy I'm talking about because economic minister is here and he's looking at the time, I know it's late. Let me just say this, articulate this. This policy we are asking for is first thing is separate soil from other issues. Do not link it with fossil fuel, do not link it with fertilizer usage, do not link it with pesticide usage, do not link it with anything where industries and businesses are involved, because then it'll go into endless debate. Do you want to have more conferences or do you want a solution? This is the important thing. Separate the soil as an issue. This is one-point agenda. One-point agenda is this. Right now, on an average, it's like this. In Northern Europe, the soil organic content is around 1.48% on an average. This is the highest in the world, unfortunately. And Southern Europe is just over 1.1, 1.2%. United States is 1.25 to 1.3% average. Africa is 0.3%, which is on the verge of desertification, big-time desertification happening. India is 0.68%. This region, because partly it is desert, your averages will be very, very low, but it's okay, because part of it is given as desert, the agricultural soil may be reasonably better. I don't have to say too many things to Israel because this is a population which has converted a desert into fertile soil when the rest of the world is busy converting the rest of the world is busy converting fertile soil into deserts. Yes, desertification is happening at a pace where in the last 25 years, we have lost 10% of the earth's land to desertification, 10% of the land. If you don't understand what I'm saying, just look at the Google Maps year on year, how the desert is spreading everywhere. So, what's wrong with the desert? Nothing. It is just that there's nothing happening. Not much life-generating activity happening, that's all the problem. If you add organic content to the sand, life will start. If you take it away, life will recede. This is all it is. So why is it organic content disappeared? Simply this, because there are only two sources of organic content on the planet, plant life and animal life. There is no other technology. You can get technologies to enhance application processes, but there are only two sources. This must be very clear to everybody. There is only plant life and animal life. There is simply no other way to generate organic content. You're getting very serious. Can I tell you a little joke? This happened in 2060. A few scientists, shall I make them Israeli? Sir, with your permission? A few Israeli scientists asked for an appointment with God, and they got it, of course, you know. So they went there and they told him, "Hey, old man, you've done really well with creation, but now everything that you can do, we can also do, so it's time you retire." God said, "Oh, is that so? What is it that you can do? Here, just have a look, we'll give you a demo." They dug up a little soil, made a vague image of a human child, did so many things, and the child came alive. God said, "Okay, that's very impressive, but first get your own soil." There is no substitute for soil. There is simply no substitute for soil. So what is the policy? The policy is this: whatever is your organic content right now, each nation can decide how many years, how much incentive, whatever, but you create an incentive that if a farmer gets his farm to 3% organic content, which is the minimum needed for all these organisms to reasonably be well-nourished, if he gets it to 3%, he will get a certain incentive. If the incentive is attractive enough, then most farmers will anyway go for it. Once the farmer goes for this, the business and industry must get into the act and get him the carbon credits in the world. Right now, the carbon credit system is so complex, most farmers are not able to figure it out. It is just that if you test 10 random points in your field and show 3% organic content, they must be eligible for carbon credit. This is the second level of incentive for him. The third level of incentive is, let's say you produce an apple in your farm. Now you are producing an apple at 1% organic content in the soil. What nutrients it has? If it is 3% organic content, what nutrients it has? We know the science already. So if it has this many micronutrients extra, naturally it will sit on a higher shelf in the marketplace. So you may have to pay a little extra, but instead of eating 5 apples, you need to eat 1 apple to get the same nourishment. But if my farm is 6% organic content, then my apple will sit on a higher shelf and it'll cost more, but instead of eating 10 apples, you have to eat 1 apple. That's the difference it'll make in our food consumption. So these 3 levels of incentives need to happen in every nation, otherwise farmers will not go for it. You know, in India right now, 63% of India's population is in farming. When we made a survey, we realized not even 2% of the farmers want their children to become farmers. This is a disaster. In another 25 years, when this generation passes, who will grow food for these massive populations that are growing in the world? So, it is extremely important. We are again going to nations which has less population and more land and trying to convert them into industrial agriculture. Right now, everybody is crying about the war because nearly 30% of the wheat is coming from those 2 regions. One is being bombed, another is banned, and wheat production, 30% of the wheat production is missing in the world. And already World Food Program is saying at least half a dozen nations will go into severe famine in the next few months, simply because that 30% of the food is missing and richer nations are buying it up. Wherever they can buy it up, wherever it's available, the poorer nations will starve. This year, at least 6 to 7 nations could go into famine simply because of this one war. This idea of growing food where there are less people and more land, industrialize it, grow it for 25, 30 years, ruin that and go somewhere else. We've been doing this for a long time. This is not the way. Where people are, food should grow. It's very, very important. If this has to happen, the farmer should earn, if not more, as much as a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. A farmer should earn as much, otherwise young people are not going to stay. I know, it's late for you. I'll tell you one of my great-grandmother was an expert storyteller. So we are there for 30 to 40 days. In the vacation time is the only time when we meet her. It's about 36 of us, all cousin brothers and sisters living in various cities. We all arrive at our ancestral home and it's one rollicking madness happening there. So in the evening, she'll start the story. Everybody will gather. And she's talking about a princess who starts combing her hair. By the time the comb reaches the end of her hair, our vacation is over. We say, what's next, what's next? You say, come next time. And she's over 100, she says, come next time. What do you do? Anyway, this is one story which stuck with me. This happened. There was a farmer who worked hard and broke the land and grew in those days. Then he had 2 sons. Both the boys worked hard and worked with everything. Then the time came, in those days in India, the land was never split among people. It was only the produce which was split. So, when the father came to his deathbed, he told the two boys that both of you, no matter what happens, must take 50% of the produce each. Never there should be a dispute about this. The boys said, yes, definitely. Then one boy got married and he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. And the other boy never got married, so he had no children, he was alone. But both were getting 50% of the produce. So one day one worm entered one of the boys' minds. You know, worms sometimes enter in your head, do funny things. They should be in the earth, but unfortunately they're in people's heads. So a worm entered and this guy who had 5 children and a wife thought, I have a wife and 5 boys and they will grow up and break more land for me and I will always be well, but my brother has nobody. In his old age, what will he do? So he must get little more than me. So in the night, secretly, from his store, grain store, he takes a sack of grain every night and walks quietly in the darkness and puts it in his brother's grainage. After some time, the same worm entered the other brother's head also, and he started thinking, I'm just alone, what do I do with all these earnings? My brother has 5 children and a wife to take care of, he should have more, but he's so proud he won't take it. So in the night, he started taking a sack of grain every night and putting it in his brother's grainage. This exchange, reverse osmosis was happening for many years. One day, the townspeople wanted to build a temple in the village and they were looking for a site. But they couldn't find it at all, they were searching, they couldn't find a good site because in India, a temple site is not just chosen by its advantage of location, it has to have a certain energy, it has to have a certain sanctity. They did not find any such place, so they were continuing to look. But it so happened, by then both these brothers have grown old, and one night they were carrying these sacks and came and they saw each other. What was happening all these years, this reverse osmosis, his grain is going into this guy's storage, this guy is putting it back there. They looked at each other and they avoided and they continued their journey and put the sacks there and went back. And then they died. After they died, the townspeople felt the place where they met on that night, carrying sacks of grain, trying to put it in the other person's grainage without the other person knowing about it, and when they looked at each other, they felt so embarrassed that they looked away and continued their act. They thought, this is the best place to build a temple. Let's build the damn temple in this world. That's the temple we need. That is the temple we need right now, of humanity. We need a temple of humanity. We have spoken a lot about divinity, nothing to say about it. I'm not saying anything, questioning anybody's beliefs or anything, it's fine. But we need temples of humanity, because I've been looking, traveling around the world, whenever I say bliss, people will say divine bliss. If you say love, they say God is love. If you say joy, they say divine joy. It looks like all the good things about human beings have been exported to heaven. These things are very useful here on this planet. If you're joyful, if you're blissful, if you're loving, it's very useful and wonderful here. Hello? And anyway, if you are going to heaven, at least practice being joyful and loving, because there it is required. At least here you must practice, otherwise what will you do there? So, the wonderful people of Tel-Aviv, do I have it with you? in one voice, in one voice. When I say 1, 2, 3, when I say 1, 2, 3, in one voice, say, save soil, let us make it happen. Before that, should I tell you a story? This happened in Tel-Avivii 5,000 years ago. On that day, people did not know much about the moon, and they thought because it changes shape and size and the shades are changing all the time, it looked like people were moving there, so people believed that there are people on the moon. And they wanted to communicate. Because they had no other means at that time, they decided they will all come on the rooftops of their homes and buildings, and some wise men advised, all of us in one voice will say, who? And they will respond, let's see what they say. Just asking, who are you? But when that moment was just coming, I was also here at that time. When that moment was just coming, I thought, this is a unique moment. All these wonderful people, they are going to say, oh, such a unique moment, everybody in one voice saying this. I'm just a small voice, what is there? What about me? I'm such a small man. Let me just listen to this. So that moment came and it passed absolutely silently. Are you still that kind of people? 1, 2, 3. Let us make it happen. Thank you very much. Is the soil answered?